Howdy, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Finally, this episode is old, very old. We recorded this one in August of last year, which is ultimately my fault. I apologize. I'm the one who's responsible for repackaging our recordings into an actual podcast and then uploading it to you guys. And it just slipped between the cracks for a while. So the podcast is back. Brandon and I thought that this one would still be fun to upload because ultimately it's still good conversation that you guys might be interested in, as long as it was made clear that this is an old video. Don't worry, you're not just getting an old, outdated podcast episode, though. We have a new one coming out that we just recorded. It should be out within the next week or so, and hopefully we can look forward to maybe some more consistent podcasts going forward if I can get my act together. So without further ado, enjoy August of 2024.
Welcome, foolish mortals, to the Blade Bias Podcast, where I, Brandon Ballasong Baker, which is my full name, talk about ballasongs that are pretty cool with my lovely co-host, who is doing some crazy gymnastics trying to figure out what the hell I'm saying.
Yeah, there was a lot of mental math up in the mental faculties. Mental math and the
That's
mental
why they call me
faculties.
Brandon Mental Math Ballasong Baker.
Carry the two.
It's my full name.
3.
This is what happens when it's been like 2
okay.
months since we've recorded a podcast episode. Welcome back, everybody, to the Blade Bias Podcast, your place to get some ballasong information infrequently.
A little tiny bit in a giant
Put that on the
format.
top of a...
We'll put that in the channel banner. Never did two
Yes.
people use so much time to say so little about a hobby that they love so much, ?
Well, it's the kind of thing that what Zippy used your tagline for his website.
He did. I still can't
What's the
believe he did
tagline?
that. Zippy Ballasong. Make your favorite ballasong your favorite ballasong.
There you go. Yeah. So, the Blade Bias Podcast, your favorite podcast. There we go.
Oh, we're ripping.
But anybody, welcome.
We're ripping Zippy's crap now, huh?
Yes, we are performing copyright infringement. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Copyright Infringement Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Copyright Infringement, Mental Gymnastics, Ballasong Baker.
Today, we're
anyway,
going to be listening to Taylor Swift's new album.
Yes, in its entirety, slow, backwards, translated into Japanese.
And Taylor's version. Don't forget that.
And believe it or not, it's still not better that way. Anyway, sorry, Swifties. What a whirlwind of a start to this podcast
you
has
just
been.
Killed the statistics of this video.
Oh,
we're getting
Oh, no,
canceled.
the Swiftie. Oh yeah, the Swifties that love their ballasongs.
Are there any Swifties that like ballasongs?
Please,
The
if
answer in
there's
the
one
comments.
of you. There's our next guest. We haven't even had a guest on the podcast yet. Or us doing the podcast. Anyway, now that we've burned through the first 5 minutes of this, mentioning nothing, the ballasong hobby is in a very interesting place.
Oh, we're just going straight
There's been a lot of
into
things
it.
happening, a lot of wacky stuff. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some fun new ballasongs with some upcoming reviews. I think a video will be close to release by the time this podcast is released, which is the Benchmade Necron video, which Will and I have now shot and is in the editing process and is going to be one of the most insane videos we've ever released. So I'll give some inside scoop about that. And then we're going to talk about how I found some ballasong books / magazines from the 1980s, and they may or may not be on their way to my humble abode right now. Because I'm a history nerd, and I need to get more in tune with some ballasong history.
True. Very true. You need to okay, never mind. Those topics and more.
Keep going.
Those topics and more on today's episode of the Blade Bias Podcast, where we use the most time to say the least shit.
That's how we do it. Beautiful. Ethan, what's so the last podcast we did was Blade Show.
Yep.
Our over 2.5 hour long podcast about
over
Blade
2 months
Show.
ago, and I'm still wearing the same
Oh,
outfit. So, that's
yeah,
how
you
we've
do.
been
I'm
going.
looking at you right now. Actually, you are almost the exact same. Your hair is a little different, but
That's
yeah,
how it be.
the same thing. I'm wearing a different shirt. I just changed it. I've been wearing the same shirt for 2 months.
Oh,
But
you got ahead of me.
we're separated from Blade Show, so this is kind of a return to. We don't have any really crazy stories to tell. We actually hopped on this call to do the podcast, and we're like, we haven't spoken one on one to each other with our actual voices in like like a literal month,
Yeah.
if not more.
I've been too busy putting a full-time job amount of hours into No Man's Sky. And that's
You have,
basically it. I was going to say there
yeah,
was more
yeah.
to that sentence, but no, that's basically it. We've been playing a little Deadlock, a little Risk of Rain, and that's it.
No shame, no shame. I've been playing Fallout 76. I'm kind of interested in Wukong.
Dude, that game blowing up right
Um,
now. Holy cow.
I know. Yeah, my brother, who never plays those kinds of games, loves it and said it might be his game of the year. Pretty crazy.
Dang. And
Uh,
I bring this up because I took a break from ballot. That was my big thing that I did. I took a break.
yeah, well, so that's what I was going to lead into.
Yeah.
Blade Show happened.
Mm-hmm.
Then you took a big old break from
Blade
Balisong. How does
Show
it feel being back in it?
Blade Show happened, got me more excited for the hobby than I've ever been. And then news started coming out left and right that got me depressed in the hobby. Not totally,
Sorry.
but just just kind of feeling a little rough, and then that just compounded with the fact that I've been almost bi-daily uploading for like 2 years now. Not straight, but like I can't
You've
remember
been
the
on
last
that
time I took
grind.
like a week off of Blade Bias or anything like that. So I decided it was the perfect time to just detox and just
Yeah.
because I was kind of sick of the community at a certain point. I was like, I would really enjoy not opening my phone and seeing a wall of bullshit every single time. So I didn't. I didn't. And I went and I fucked off and I played No Man's Sky and I lived my life and it was amazing. And now that I'm back, I'm like, I kind of want
Do
to
you
do
feel
it again.
rejuvenated or do you wish you stayed
I
away?
don't feel rejuvenated because the day that I come back, people had to get on their bullshit again. But we're not going to talk about
Uh,
that.
no, today's all about positivity.
Yeah. So the
There's too much
break
drama in the world.
ended up being like I probably should have taken more time off, but here we are. You know, it is what it is. It was good. It did show me what I miss, what I didn't miss. Um,
Yeah.
like one thing, I was like streaming. I do miss streaming, and I streamed.
Oh, yeah. You've been
Um,
streaming a lot.
yeah, and some things that I didn't miss, like I'm so sorry, guys. Replying to comments. I used to love it. Now it's just like, oh boy, some of those comments really just make me close the app.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame you for having a love-hate relationship with the comment section.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So yeah, when you were doing all of that, I've actually been on a hell of a content grind. Produced the Glider Pacific review, produced the Squiddy XL feature, which had a 3.5 minute long comedy sketch in it
It did.
that was all created by me. Which was a blast to do. It was a very fun, creative endeavor for me to go on because I hadn't done anything like that since I've been doing this really like to where I could really call myself a professional that remotely knows what I'm doing. It isn't just stumbling through it. Did that, and then I've been producing, which is now released to everybody, thank God, the big Balisong community highlight video.
Yeah. Well, technically the small one, right?
It's big. Actually, this video will have taken more time to produce than the longer one.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, just because just cutting a couple of specific snippets of different very long interviews and trying to determine what out of this 15-minute long interview, what 10 seconds do I want to use?
Right.
Takes a lot of time to do that and figure out what story is being crafted. How is that going to interweave with all the other interviews? How is that going to interweave with the B-roll? What am I going to write in between those interviews to connect them together? And having to pull tons of different sources, from Instagram clips to tons of clips from our old videos, all the interviews themselves, B-roll from different places, B-roll from different creators, stuff from our Patreon, stuff from our Discord, stuff from the just old archives of different content creators and stuff. That took a lot of work.
So the sourcing.
So whenever it comes to doing, because the bigger video is just going to be, just here are the interviews. Like,
Right.
just you want to get to know different people in the community? Here you go. Here's the full interviews. Here's some context with it. But that's really just going to be cutting out the parts of an interview where a question was being asked or whatever, and just letting the answers play out.
Gotcha.
And just actually having the conversation. But this video was a huge undertaking, and I'm very, very glad to have that out. But it was interesting when you were in your break. I feel even more connected to the community now, just because I've had to go in and look at all these different sources and pull all these different clips, even clips of you.
Right.
And because that was part of the process, was I have to go through I don't have to, but I wanted to, here's Ethan's entire history of posting on Instagram. What clip do I want to use to feature him?
Yeah, you did.
And how is that going to be different than all the other clips that I'm going to use? And what specific 5 seconds do I want to use of that?
You did.
And I
do
didn't
that.
pick the perfect moment of any particular person's clip, because otherwise I was going to drive myself insane. But it felt good to really scour the whole Balisong landscape, and pick out the different people that I wanted to use, and trying to represent every range of community member. Like, one of the things I intentionally did with that video, it was I didn't want it to just be the best people. I wanted it to be every skill level, multiple, different, genders, different ethnicities, different, just people of all walks of life, and different skill levels in particular. And doing that was weirdly difficult, of trying to show off the people that deserve to be showed off, but then I'm just going to pull a clip of a completely random person.
Right.
And just show that off. Their flipping isn't objectively good, but it shows that's more relatable to somebody potentially getting into the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
So that made me feel very connected to different things and different people. It's going to be interesting looking back on that video in a couple of years and being like, oh my God, that's when all these different people were doing A, B, and C. But I'm glad to finally have that out, because it was a very fun edit, but there were a lot of question marks going into it.
Yeah, I need a project to kind of do that with. I have my Blade Show video, which I admittedly just haven't touched in like a month. But like, because my biggest problem with Balisong stuff is I have so many ideas written down for like stuff that I think could be genuinely really, really cool for the hobby and it'd be awesome. But I do not have the skills to bring it to life in the way that I want to. So it remains an idea on a page, never to be fully realized. And that is that is my prison. Is looking at that page and thinking, damn, all of these would be so cool if I just could do any of them.
Yeah, well, and you and I have talked about a lot of different ideas within that. If we weren't an entire country away from an entire section of the United States, a whole East Coast away from each other, that would be a lot easier to do. But I've been feeling that of like, Will and I have been doing a lot of different videos lately, and we still have a lot of fun with them. But I've been trying to think of ways of how can we branch out into other types of content that is still fun to produce and is still original and is still fun and it's still our stuff, but just is new and different and dips our toes into different things.
Right.
Like that community highlight video. It wasn't aimed at Balisong people, really. It's more so like, hey, if you're a
just adjacent to this, if you're into any particular skill toy, if you're just into knives in general, but you're not into ballad songs, like here's a video explaining the entire hobby to you and what's interesting about it, the different people in it,
Right.
what there is to get excited about. But the problem, back to your point of all these ideas, new ideas are hard. It's really easy to rinse and repeat the same type of content over and over.
If you need ideas, I got you.
Oh, I have too many. I have my own doc of too many ideas.
The ideas for me are the easy part.
Yeah.
The hard part is getting really excited about them in the shower at 3 a.m. and then it's 3 a.m. so I can't do anything about it. And then by the time I wake up tomorrow, I don't have nearly that much drive to wake up and go do it. So
yeah,
such is the way. But I think, and this will probably be something that we wrap around to as a certain future topic comes up, but I think I'm getting to the point where I'm getting a little tired of churning out like the same stuff over and over again, like you said, where every video that I do that has substance anymore is just the same thing that I'm doing week in, week out.
There's a comfort to that, though.
There is, yes.
Like knowing, like whenever I watch one of your videos, knowing what I'm gonna get,
right,
is weirdly comforting. Of just like, oh, yep, here's Ethan's. I spent a week with blank, and you're gonna, as efficiently as you can, go through those details. And I know I'm not gonna have to like pay attention necessarily to any like graphics or any B-roll, and I can just throw it on in the background, and I can just listen to you talk. Will's been doing that a lot, by the way.
Yes.
He made a video on Will Hirsch Flips of how, you know, his distance from the ballad song hobby. And he talked about how he's been watching your videos. I told him to do that. That wasn't something he independently chose to do. I told him, you want to keep up with ballad song stuff?
Oh, you told him
watch
to watch
Blade Bias.
I see.
Yeah, to watch. What'd you hear?
No, I thought you meant like you told him to talk about it.
No. No, his decision to talk about it was his independent thing. But he was talking about the different things that he was struggling with, and I'm like, if you want to keep up with current ballad songs, just watch Blade Bias. Like, because you genuinely like keep up with a lot of like the forefront of different things, and your format allows you to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
to just get something and immediately make a video, and people are going to be interested in it.
Yeah,
and there's power to that. That's something we struggle with. Is, you know, I've had the BB Superfly for a couple months now, and I'm writing the review for it. But that's a couple months that it's taken to get our official thoughts out on this thing. Thank God Will likes it, so it's going to be one of the easiest reviews we've ever done.
Yay!
Because it's great. If you want to know my thoughts right now, it's great. It's an incredible deal. I did end up, I didn't tell you this. This is new information to you. I did end up doing, because it has adjustable weights, I did do the no weights, and I ended up liking the no weights the best. So you were correct.
I wasn't even correct. I thought it was going to
fantastic.
suck. Someone in my chat told me to do it, and I did it begrudgingly. That's just
real.
Interesting. Yeah, I was like, no, this is going to suck without these weights, and I took it out, and I was like, holy shit, I like this twice as much now. Sorry, guy.
It's great. Yeah, like, and one of the main things I loved was it comes with a great bag of replacement hardware.
Yes, sir.
And I'll say the tune out of the box was not anything to write home about.
Average.
And so I was like, and it comes with 4 replacement bushings.
Yeah.
At least mine did.
Yep.
4. So there's 6 bushings total, included with it, and the tune wasn't great. So I took a whack at it on one of the spare bushings to just do the sandpaper figure 8 motion, measure it with a micrometer. I knocked that shit out of the park, and it has an awesome tune. It's still not amazing. I didn't want to get it like too close to call or anything,
right?
But it's way better than it was, and it sounds better. It flips better, and really want to get that video released because BB Barfly is a great company.
True.
But to wrap up that point of what you're doing, I understand the struggle of struggling to keep churning out that same kind of content. But I think there's different ways that you can move to at least change
Hopefully.
things up a bit. You and I have spoken privately about a lot of different ideas that you've had for different types of content.
Right.
That I think you would have a lot of fun officially pursuing.
To be more candid, Blade Bias has kind of come to a point. It kind of now represents everything that I didn't want YouTube to be when I got into the hobby. Like, if you go back and watch any of my old streams, you'll hear me preaching about how, like, I'm not going to force myself to do any of this. I'm doing any of this because it's all, like, passion, not because it's needed. Like, I'm doing it entirely for myself. And Blade Bias has kind of gotten to the point where that's not true anymore. I am sort of doing it because, you know, people are like, oh, you're keeping up to date with everything, or you're the most reliable, or whatever, like, in terms of scheduling and all of that. So it has actually kind of gotten to a point where it's like, I enjoy doing it. I like talking about this stuff, and probably the most rewarding thing to me is like figuring out a ballad song to talk about it. But yeah, I gotta.
Would you
figure
say
something
that's
out.
yeah? And so that's what I was going to ask is, do you feel like that you're now at a pivot point of what you want to?
No,
Like, you want to make a decision soon on what direction you want to go in, or do you
No,
think you're
'cause
just going to keep chugging along for now?
the thing is, Blade Bias, you mentioned earlier, it's something that people can get. You know, you get quick reviews on, or not reviews. It's not reviews. I still stand by that to this day. You get quick videos on. And that's kind of one of the pillars that I have, different pillars that kind of hold up the channel. And that's one of them, you know, quick turnaround, quick feedback, stuff like that. And it just can't exist like that in any other format. So I need something to bolster my creativity and my creative voice in the hobby that can coexist with Blade Bias.
Yeah.
Which I'm hoping will come soon, now that my personal life has taken a massive shift around. So hopefully the scheduling starts working out. I don't know, maybe a month from now. We'll see.
Okay. Well, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do if Blade Bias didn't exist.
That's the thing.
It gives me peace.
It's like,
I
can think about quitting all I want, and believe me, I have. Like, it would be so nice to just take a step back, but you get comments like that, and you're like, damn. I guess I'll keep doing it because I do still like it. It's not like I'm begrudgingly clicking the upload button, but a year from now,
you're in an interesting place though, in that you make money from Blade Bias,
right?
But by no means a significant amount of money.
No, enough
let's be real. This podcast getting on average like 1,000 views. That's not making crazy money. I promise you that.
This podcast altogether has made less than $100. I think all of the episodes.
Yeah. So we're doing this from a place of passion. Anybody who thinks that we're making this isn't even like a sponsored thing. Even if it was sponsored, that still wouldn't be a ton of money. Thing. Like if it the way a lot of podcasts are, where they'll have some sponsorship.
And that's why I'm here to tell you about nondescript service.
Summit Cola from Aldi.
How much is it?
Get 12 cans for $2.50.
There you go.
It is 70% the quality for 50% of the price.
That's a tagline.
That's what I'm drinking because I'm feeling wild.
Blade Bias, 70% of the quality for 50% of the price.
There we go.
Hell
That's what the
yeah.
people want.
But,
that's how you beat inflation.
Actually, is there anything you wanted to mention before I kind of pivot a tiny bit?
You can pivot. I have a direction I was going to go in from this conversation.
Okay, I think we might be thinking
take the reins for
thing.
a moment. You might,
because
lay it on me.
You know,
roll it out.
It's no secret. I've not made it a secret
but...
that I'm struggling a little bit over here. the hobby kind of is too.
Yes.
We're in
Okay.
kind of
that
a rough
was what I was
place.
going to get into.
Brandon, where did
yeah,
that all
so that's
start?
something. Like the state of the hobby.
Where did like all of I shouldn't even I don't know. For me, it started with Fellowship. But that was not clear to you, and I don't know why I thought that would have been clear to you.
No, yet. So that was one of the things I was going to get into, and I wanted to spell right away. And this is even kind of in response to Will uploaded a video about how to save the ballad song hobby.
I need to watch that.
Every
Sorry, Will.
every hobby in the world right now isn't in a great place.
Oh no,
the global economy is in a tough spot. People don't have as much disposable income as they used to. And so with that, when you have a hobby of people that are, let's be frank, this is a $250 to $300 bottle opener skill toy.
Gotcha there.
I don't necessarily blame people for not, on like a monthly basis, one person spending $200 to $300 on a skill toy,
right? And like you said,
or a knife. So
every hobby. You want a niche example?
Yeah.
Star Citizen. That hobby's going through some tough times right now, and it reminded me of that because you see YouTubers from that talking about how like their views are down and interest overall is down, and I'm like, this timeline looks vaguely familiar.
Yeah. But so yeah, this was one of the bittersweet aspects of the community highlight video. One of the people featured in that video is Grant from Fellowship Blades. This is a Fellowship Blades Medusa for the uneducated. What's the
uninitiated?
The word that came to my mind? Uninitiated.
Hey,
and
you
that's what I'm saying.
uneducated
Uneducated was
swine.
not the right word.
This is the Impusa, and you better remember it. Say
What's up, my
its
uneducated
name.
swine?
I am the one who flips.
The one flipper to rule them all. But no, so Grant is in that video. He did an awesome interview. But he has announced not focusing on ballad songs anymore. And that really, really stung. And of course, being in his type of business is very different than or it's in a particular place of that any business would be in, of being a very small operation selling things at a very premium price.
Right.
And even like, I love the Medusa, but even, ballad songs started getting attacked by Instagram, like algorithms and stuff, and that's a whole separate story, but it's part of it. Instagram in general has been suppressing and shadow banning people that sell ballad songs and stuff, and when that's the main marketplace that a lot of makers rely on in terms of advertising their products, that's tough.
Quick clarification.
I love the Medusa.
It's not just ballad songs. It's Instagram's doing it to a lot of other hobbies.
Yes,
because
knives.
I don't want to
general,
feed the
tons of
crowd
hobbies.
who say that Instagram is targeting ballad songs specifically. No,
Yes.
they're not.
Yeah.
Be quiet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I love
it
you.
is anything close to any of this and a lot of other things. So it is not a dedicated, targeted attack of just ballad songs. But ballad song companies have been affected.
Yeah, we've fallen into that, right?
Yeah, and I love the Medusa. He changed up how he made it, and in my opinion, it's better the way that he made it. This is the V2. By the time he finished with it, I think it got to the V4.
I don't think
the price increased by over.
Did it? I don't remember.
Maybe not officially. It was at least the V3.
It's like V4-ish.
Yeah, but the price increased by over $200.
Yeah.
So in a market where you're already struggling to sell stuff, increasing the price of arguably your best product by over $200, while it may, on paper have made sense, and I think it was a higher quality thing. I believe it was due to a Magna Cut blade.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, I'm gonna increase the price for absolutely no reason. It wasn't anything like that.
Magna Cut blade, different milling, stuff like that.
The handles were different too.
Yeah.
Like an objectively better product, but
most people were
because of
saying
that
that at
higher
Boat Show,
price. Yeah.
You know, people have been saying this.
And I tried one again at a Balisong meet in Georgia recently, and it was like the blade looked different, the thing sounded different, like it was a different experience. But that kind of price increase isn't necessarily going to help sales. So yeah, that was a moment of, oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, and then back to one of the reasons I really want to shout out BB Barfly here was they did a crazy sale on this where it was $200 for like 2 or 3 months. And then they've been having like a site-wide sale for, I feel like 6 months now almost.
Oh, is it a site-wide
That's
sale?
like over 15. Currently it's a site-wide
Because last
sale,
I checked,
believe.
everything in his website
And
was
we're
just
recording
cheaper.
this. Some of this information will be outdated by the time this actually gets released. That's where I'm not getting too specific. But regardless, they've had a very large sale going on for a variety of different products for a long time now. And they're not doing that purely out of the goodness of their heart.
I can't imagine.
Yeah,
Usually
and a lot of
sales
the different
aren't
Balisong
that.
companies. Yeah, well, and that's, we were talking about how we have all these new ideas, and that's where you have a lot of different people coming onto the scene too, trying to release, new Balisongs and stuff, and people are just struggling. And so things are from the people I've talked to that have been in the hobby for a long time, like we talked to Jerry Hom about this. He said, like, the hobby has always had its ups and downs,
Right.
In terms of sales, in terms of people's interest in it. It comes and goes like anything. So I don't think we are not saying, and I don't believe that, like, oh, the Balisong hobby is dying, get out now, run for the hills, because there's so many people that are interested in it, so many more people that I'm seeing that are like coming into it for the very first time and having fun with it. New Patreon supporters, we're getting new new commenters and stuff. They're like, hey, yeah, I like one of our recent videos. Will asked how they got into the hobby, and there were people that were like, yeah, I got into it just like a couple weeks ago because of your videos.
I've seen an explosion
recommended
of
to me.
comments like that. I think I'm getting more like,
Yeah.
I just got into flipping style comments than I ever have before. And I think
Yeah,
the decline isn't so much of a decline so much as it is just us coming off of the greatest spike that the hobby has ever seen, bar none, and period. So
yes, and that's what I was ultimately getting at was,
sorry to
COVID.
steal your Google trend line going
I'm
straight up.
No, because COVID was just like, you can look at it on like Google Trends and stuff like that. COVID was just a huge boom for every
Single thing.
everything. And so what you're seeing, or what we're seeing right now, is not the hobby dying. It was here, it went up, and now it's leveling back out to where it was.
We're from everything,
or maybe not where it was. We're still higher because like it's still in a better place. Go back to pre-COVID. The Ballast didn't exist. Machine Wise didn't exist.
Right.
Fellowship didn't exist. BB Barfly existed, but not like they do today in terms of the much more competitive and interesting stuff that they're making today. LDY wasn't a thing. There's so many more options, and I think that's part of the problem too. It's kind of a double-edged sword of all these different companies are struggling to keep up their sales as much, partially because there's just so many options.
Right.
Like, it isn't just, Squid Industries is the only people making quality trainers out of aluminum. You have Nibalis now. And I can say, Nibalis is not immune to this either. I want to quell anybody, because I've seen people say like, oh, it's because of Nibalis. Nibalis is killing all these other makers. Like, are they selling a lot of products? Yes. But the rise of Nibalis isn't equaling, the decline of all these other people in that kind of, it's not as clear cut as anything like that. But they've even been struggle with that. We've had conversations with them about how we want to think about products moving forward, and because they're observing the same kind of things that everybody else is. But that's part of the thing, is there's just so many options now.
Right.
That's something that we talk about in the Benchmade Necron video, which is one of the craziest videos we've ever released. I don't think it'll be released by the time this podcast comes out. But if it is, whether it is or isn't, we really rip into Benchmade in that
Good.
video. Like really, like there's a gag in the video that happens because there's so much intensity. Like it's a defined break from the intensity. Like that we intentionally wrote it that way. But one of the things Will mentions in that video is back in like even 2017, 2018, you really only had Jerry Hom, Benchmade, BRS,
Squid.
Yeah, but even 2017, 2018, that was only like
I mean, yeah,
the
that's
Squid Trainer.
That's like
existed.
early Squid, but
yeah. So it's like the options that we have now. Just zoom back 5 years. The options we have now are completely different than what we have today. So that's part of it too, in terms of seeing different people struggle. There's just so much competition because there's so many people interested in it.
right.
So that's where I think I know I did just say it was, at this specific level and then it went up and now it's going back to where it was. I don't think it's going to level out at where it was pre-COVID. I think it's going to be higher than where it was pre-COVID. Especially because you exist in terms of because even pre-COVID you didn't have content creators like Will and I existing in the way that we do now. You didn't have Balisong flipping. You didn't have our channel. You didn't have Blade Bias. You didn't have Ghost flipping and the buffness. And like you had smaller people doing stuff, but not to the scale that people are these days. So I think that alone is going to help prop up the whole hobby. And just, people having available stuff too.
Yeah, I mean,
you can go onto the Squid Industries website and find virtually any product they make is very, very consistently in stock.
remember when stuff
which
used to
could
sell
not be
out
said.
in 5 seconds after people waited months for them to drop? That
Yeah.
doesn't
Well, I mean, God,
happen.
this time that we're filming this video 2 years ago, we were praising the Prisma, the original machine-wise
the Prisma was
because they were
revolutionary.
releasing 30 units a week.
Yeah,
That was revolutionary in 2022.
It was the only other company doing it besides Squid, if I remember correctly. Like it was finally one of the first companies to stand up to Squid, and now I'd say machine-wise is. I wouldn't say they're at the level of Squid, but
They're still not at the production level.
seriously,
But arguably they have
stood up
higher
to
quality
them.
products.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not even gonna
Yeah.
say arguably.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let my machine-wise flag fly on that one. Definitely.
Oh, me too. Me too. That's me being I'm a middle child. I have an older brother and a younger brother, so this is me being the mediator between the two and trying to not step on too many toes.
Hey, sorry, Squid. I love you. You're great. You're just not doing it like the boys in Arizona. I'm sorry. No one else is.
Yeah. But yeah, so we've observed that, and even you and I, we've observed just the state the hobby is in. And you and I have a unique look into that just in the fact that we're content creators. So we can see the interest in different things, the topics that people are gravitating toward. So in terms of, I have a lot of hope for things. I'm not in a place of doom and gloom. And part of that is out of necessity. You and I actually had a somewhat butting heads kind of conversation a couple weeks ago.
That's the conversation that kicked off my break, like unironically.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No,
by
I mean,
the
it's
way,
not your fault. It just made me realize a lot of things, and I was like, "It's time to take a step back."
Yeah.
And I did.
Fair. Yeah, which good for you. But I'm coming at it from a pretty positive standpoint, partially, and this is part of the conversation that we had, partially because I have to be,
Right.
because I'm now in a place, I have different clients that I work for, but my most consistent client that I've had since before COVID, in September of last year, I no longer work for that client, which wasn't a it was the show that I was producing just got moved to being produced in California. It didn't make
he
sense
fucked everything
for them to have
up.
a
Don't let
remote
him
editor.
trick you.
Shh.
That show went off the air in a fiery ball of,
It wasn't
of
fire.
glory.
It was a ball of ice that steamrolled through the town. Thank you.
Oh,
I don't deal in fire anymore. I don't burst into flames spontaneously.
you don't deal in
like I
fire
used to
anymore. Let's ask
No.
that.
But
Let's
dude,
ask the
fire,
Arctic
that
reviewer.
shit's fire. Yeah, you can disconnect
I'm
if
not
you
giving
want.
you. I'm not gonna give you the satisfaction of me laughing at that.
The cringe is all I ever needed.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
I honestly think you are the single most optimistic person in the community right now.
which again is partially because I have to be.
Right.
Because this is the thing that pays my bills.
No,
This
I
is
totally
the thing
get that.
that I am officially trying to lay the groundwork for, that falls into the realm of like, this is what I would like to have support my family in the long run. So that's part of it, but I just see so many different routes that the hobby and different companies can take that just isn't currently being capitalized on. And one of those really big things is, of course, this. Oh, here. This is a bottle opener / toy. This is a knife. There are some huge YouTube channels that do knife-focused content, like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of subscribers that perform very well, that focus on EDC type of content, but primarily knives, that have never even remotely mentioned a Balisong before. And the fact that we aren't collaborating with those people, no Balisong companies are trying to do like sponsorships with those people or trying to do any kind of collaborations with that crowd, is crazy to me. So that's one of the areas I feel like there's different, skill toys in general that we could try to overlap. There's a tons of different types of content that I think could be made. I'd love to make some content with like Blade HQ. That'd be a blast. I'd love to make content with Blade HQ. And so I think there's areas like that. And I don't want to dive into every single, if I dive too much into that topic, I'm going to be here for 4 hours. But there's a lot of things within that realm that I think could prop the hobby up, because we've been in our own bubble for a really long time. And Balisong companies have really only been making Balisongs for Balisong people and haven't really made huge strides to branch outside of that. So I think if we branch outside of that and have collaborations that weren't like the Squid Industries PewDiePie collaboration that ended up just being a complete nothing burger, where neither PewDiePie or Squid Industries even made a single social media post announcing the product. They just silently listed it for sale and then never mentioned it.
He's not salty.
If we could have more collaborations like that, where the people actually talk about the product that they collaborated with, and even like with Squid Industries, we have the Squiddy WH now, but that's a Balisong company collaborating with a Balisong content creator.
Right.
If we just take just one little step outside of that, not 2 steps out, but just 1 foot into these other things that are adjacent to it, I think there's a lot of potential there. So that's something that I really want to focus on more. On top of just doing regular content in general. But that's where I think, as you've seen, think of how many different companies that you follow. How many of them have made only one type of product and never really branched outside of that and continued to grow, only making that one single type of product, or a video game company that made one single type of game? There are a few that do that. Sure. Yeah. But that's one game. But have they released more games like that?
No.
I
don't think so.
So is Lethal Company going to keep selling copies at a very consistent pace for 20 years.
Maybe.
And they'll never have
Hey,
to
you don't
make
know.
another type of game again. You never know.
Fortnite.
But on paper, you got me there.
Hey, Apex Legends is making $2 billion a year, and they're doing some dog shit.
Is
So
it? I've heard bad things about Apex. In terms
Oh
of the
yeah, you hear
performance of that
awful
game.
things about Apex, but they're still raking in the cash. I don't.
Is
mean-
Apex on Steam?
Yeah,
What's the
current play
what's
count?
the player count of Apex?
Guarantee you, it's over.
Oh, it has
80K.
gone up.
Oh, it's 60K. Still way more than I thought. No, it's not.
Okay, no, that's doing better than I thought it was. I retract. But I'm talking.
I don't mean to.
So,
poke
but that's
holes.
like saying
I'm being
Yeah.
difficult for the
No, but-
sake
but-
of being difficult.
yes, it's the breadening all over again. Which we still haven't made a video about, by the way. Maybe one day.
Fuck.
I know.
forgot
I'm just
about
now
that.
bringing that up in the middle of this.
I forgot about that.
But my point is, a company like Squid Industries is still a very small company. Apex Legends is published by EA. EA is not a small game publisher.
Right.
Fortnite is published by Epic. Epic is not a small game publisher. Squid Industries is still, in the grand scheme of things, a very small company. Machine-wise is even smaller. They're barely 4 or 5 different employees. And so within that bubble of a small group of people making products for a relatively small audience, that's where that small audience isn't going to continuously replenish itself on its own. Because even those bigger companies, they have the resources to promote different things in different areas, whereas the Balisong hobby, a lot of the even people on the level of Machine-wise, like, it's not like they're raking in hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. It's like they're really going drop to drop, which I guess is partially speculation on my part. But just looking at the amount of units they drop, it's like you can do the math of figuring out a rough profit margin of what they have, the number of units that they're dropping. It's like you can do the math of how much money they're actually pulling in. It's just a tough market to be in. So that's where I think if we see more people branch out into other things, and try to get a little bit more exposure on the hobby in general and not just focus within our own little bubble, I think that could be really cool. I think that could be done through just advertisements in general, collaborations with different companies. It could also be done through competitions. If we could refine, Will has a lot of really, really good ideas. We'll actually have to talk about it offline, because he has a lot of really interesting ideas for how, like, Bally Comp could change, how the judging could be more objective, which I know you and I have talked about that before. He has some really good ideas of how to do that. But it's like if we had a more regular, like, Balisong competition properly taking place that wasn't just in person, or like you didn't have to physically go to it,
Right.
and we could get more exposure on things that way, I think that could do a lot. More people creating content, us doing more to branch outside of things. It's like if we could do a collaboration with those different companies, do collaboration, like video collaborations with Blade HQ or some of those different EDC YouTube channels, and get, say, a video on one of those separate channels gets 50,000 views and 500 people get interested in Balisongs.
Yeah.
Epic win in my book.
Crazy win.
Like, I'm not looking for 50,000 people to get involved, but even just 2% of those people being like, hey, that's actually really cool. That's great. That's a huge win for the hobby. So that's something I want to focus a lot of my energy into. But a lot of that is easier said than done. And that's where you have people like Fellowship Blades that just, it's a tough market and you got to pay your bills at the end of the day.
Yep.
And, I talked to him personally about it before he had announced anything. He didn't tell me that he was like, oh yeah, I think I'm going to be done. But having talked to him at Blade Show, it's like I saw the seeds of, like, things are in a rough spot, and that's true for anybody trying to run that kind of business, where you're having to sell decently high volumes of $750 products. That's going to be tough no matter what market you're in.
Right.
But I think there's a lot to look forward to, and I think we'll look back on this time and think like, yep, that sucked. that was a dip, but look at all this great stuff we have now. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And at a bare minimum, say, this wasn't able to, I wasn't able to treat this as a full-time job and the thing I would support my family with, I'm still going to be doing it to some degree, maybe not to the same capacity.
Right.
But it's just, knowing people like you, getting to work on fun stuff with Will, getting to go to Blade Show, getting to meet so many different people and have different connections and stuff. Like it's just great. So worst case scenario, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. But it is in a tough spot. But
yeah,
hopefully once the whole world figures its shit out, because let's not forget, the whole world kind of got screwed with COVID. Let's not pretend we were in a normal state of being for a few years. And of course, COVID started over 4 years ago now. Which, yeah.
No, what do you
let's
mean?
cringe at that
2016
for a
was
moment.
4
How
years
long
ago.
You're right. Yeah. I graduated college 4 years ago. Totally normal. I did not. I'm pushing 30. I'm officially on the countdown of the big 3-0.
The countdown. You make it sound like you're gonna
Countdown.
die.
No, I'm ready. Thankfully, I achieved my one goal I had before I turned 30.
Okay,
which was,
I was like,
to do my month-long camper van New Zealand trip. That was the only major goal I had for the first my whole adulthood before turning 30. So I'm okay with turning 30.
fair enough.
30 to me is not old. I don't feel old right now. And I don't think I'll feel old when I turn 30. 40, maybe we'll see. But right now I'm fine. But that's where, I want to be making battle song content when I'm 40. I want to still be involved in this kind of stuff.
That
It's
makes
just,
one
it's
of
such
us.
I want it. Because I've just made so many different connections, and it's such an interesting hobby to me. And just the people that are in it, the art of making these, whether it's being machined, whether it's being mass produced, whether it's being handmade, like it's just so interesting to me. So will I? We'll see. 39-year-old Brandon, hi. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I think my hard cap's like 26.
26.
Yeah.
When your prefrontal cortex fully develops?
I think I'm out of this shit. Maybe 26 is too early, but by the time I have like, a wife and a house, I don't think I'm going to be doing this anymore. I'm going to be so real with you.
That's fine.
I don't think
I'll keep it chugging.
I'll chug. I'll chug.
I'll
until
miss
then,
you.
But
I'll miss you.
I'm not going to be throwing.
I wonder who
after.
I want. Oh, the head mount.
I'm not going to be throwing on the head mount after.
Will's
dropping
doing that at
300
age
grand on a
29.
house.
Will's doing that. Why can't you?
I don't know, man.
Who's my podcast co-host gonna be?
Maybe I'll still do the podcast. I'm
Maybe
fine
it'll be a
with that.
Brandon clone. Maybe I'll figure out how to officially make them.
No, I'm fine with the podcast, but every other day uploads, no siree.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
Oh yeah.
I see.
Like I'll still be
Okay.
I'll still be around maybe. Like maybe in the capacity that like Ty is still around.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys got like a year of bi-daily uploads. I need someone else to start. I need another channel to come in and start picking up the bi-daily upload stuff. No,
You've got a couple.
You know what I want? This is what I want, Bally community. This is my bucket list item before I leave, before I die and I croak in the Balisong community. I think we're due for the next Addison True and Telestro.
Yeah.
I think we're due for the next like truly different like artsy Bally YouTuber. Because I know you
I would love
have
that.
your own opinions about like the quality difference. But like I'm talking like you guys do like a formula. You have ridiculously high quality B-roll, but they're like the sort of sense of I don't like you just go back and you think about that Addison True Mako review where he's flipping in the snow in like golden hour and it's like there's something to that that's
Yeah.
different from you guys and I think we're due for it.
Yeah.
I think we're ready.
Well, like Ty said, our videos have no heart.
See, I didn't want to go down that road. I knew I was going to bring that back up. I didn't want to bring that back up.
But yeah, I have no passion for this hobby. I do it purely out of necessity, obviously. No, I'm kidding. Ty and I have talked about it. We actually had a great conversation about that at Blake Show. I'm curious what his community highlight video is going to be now that mine's done and out.
Yeah.
Which it was still a heck of an undertaking, but I think his video will be probably that kind of vibe. And I think it's a little bit more of I think part of the not the issue, but the difference is just the goal. Like, what's the goal? I don't think Addison True's goal was ever, I want to give a efficient, informed opinion of this specific product.
No. His goal was to
just,
invoke an
I want to make
emotion.
I just want to make a fun video
Right.
where I get to be creative. And it's also about a ballad song.
And that's where the difference is because like you guys just
Yeah.
do such a different format. So like the quality isn't necessarily different, but the feel is. So I want the next like pretentious pretentious cinematography snob to make, and I mean that in the most loving way possible, to make a ballad song review because I miss it, man.
Yeah.
Everything nowadays
Even a lot
is
of
head
Ty's
mounts,
old.
and I'm talking as one of the guys who does head mounts.
Oh, I'm a holdout.
You are a holdout.
And hey,
oh no,
let me.
You've done head mounted. You can't.
No, I
You're not a
have, but that's
holdout.
not what I pushed to do. I don't enjoy doing head mounting
But
content.
you still did it.
I objectively dislike it. But I'm gonna give myself a little bit of a pat on the back. You're saying we need somebody to come in and shake things up. Who's doing Balisong sketch comedy?
Okay, listen. I've been saying on my stream that you guys are the only ones truly doing anything different in this community, and I will stand by that. I'm just saying
I'm
we
trying.
need more of it.
I'm really trying. Yeah, I agree. I single-handedly am not going to save this hobby or the content that's
I mean, you
within it.
could if you just tried like way harder, and you just like
That it,
if you just
I'm
did
definitely
it,
not trying hard enough.
like if you just did it, then you
Yeah.
could do it. You know,
It's like depression. Just stop being
just
sad.
smile.
Idiot. Yeah.
Just like just like smile. It's simple.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
simple.
I will say again. I don't know if it's out or not by the time this podcast goes live, but the Necron review. Anybody who thinks that it's going to be or it is our standard format, we specifically play into that.
I'm so excited.
That it's like people are going to think, oh, it's a normal Will Hirsch review. Nope. Boy, is it not.
I'm so excited.
So which is mostly like it's still the format is still the same, but I specifically was like, people are going to think this is going to be a normal Will Hirsch video. We got to play into that. And we did, and it was great.
Speaking of the Necron, I think it's important to point
Yeah.
out because you said the last podcast was like 2 months ago, which is technically true, but we did upload a long form podcast style video about the Necron. And I think
we did.
It speaks so wildly that there is not just one almost hour long video ranting about the Necron. There's 2. Actually, there might even be 3 if you count Denden's initial reaction that he did, which is crazy. So that really speaks to how well the Necron has landed in the community, in case you couldn't tell at this point.
Yeah. Well, that actually kind of goes back to what we were talking about in terms of like the state of the hobby. bench, and as we said in that video, Benchmade making a bad, overpriced ballad song is not good for the hobby.
No.
Like, my God, if they made a good thing, that would be so great to just give more exposure to it in general. But yeah, that video is a whole big thing. And currently, as we record this, I don't know how the edit's going to come together, but I'm going to hope it's going to come together great. But my whole point in all of that is I've been really trying to sit down and think of some creative different ways to pursue making different kinds of content that is more creatively interesting to me, is a little bit less like, not rinse and repeat, but just is a little bit, it just changes things up. And speaking of that, that's one of the things I wanted to touch on, was I made I'll talk like this. I made a connection with a specific person on Instagram.
What her hand did you
Where that
connect
person-
with?
Yeah, we gotta abandon this. You know what's better? Would have been better than this? Us speaking in those awful British accents that we talked about
Oi,
before
bruv.
we started rolling.
Who did you
Oi,
connect with in it?
Daddy song. Oi. It's like in Fallout London. I did do a stream on Fallout London, and that was a blast because Fallout London, which is a mod for Fallout
It's like
4,
Fallout
has a ballad
London.
song in it.
It
was
so
great.
funny.
Um,
Bruv, it's like just like that time when they
bruv.
dropped a nuke on London and built the votes underneath. I don't know.
Oh,
My British accent dies if I do it for more than 5 seconds.
Can you imagine calling a Talasong Z the Talasong Z? It almost sounds cooler.
What a fucking goober way to say that.
Ooh, goober. I hardly know her. Anyway, so different kinds of content. And yes, I'm immediately moving on. So I made a connection with a guy on Instagram, now that I'm speaking normal and not like a damn idiot. Or like most people should talk. Maybe that's how the whole world should do it. Anyway, made a connection with a guy who is 71 and has been flipping ballad songs since 1969.
Damn.
The summer of 69. Over, what is that? Over 50 years of flipping ballad songs. And he had a post pinned on his Instagram.
Oh, I sat there the whole time trying to think of that. And I
was
still don't know the
of
answer.
that'd be what, 55 years ago? Was 1969?
Bro, there's nothing behind my eyes right now. Oh my god. Just keep going.
There's also not a real background, but that's a separate topic for a separate day.
You ruined it.
No, I didn't ruin anything. I love your new office, by the way. It looks awesome.
Oh, thank you.
The Star Wars poster is really cool.
I really like the
It's
Star
I
Wars
like-
poster
I
that
really-
says "Doi" for me. I think it says "Doi."
No, that's just how it's designed because that's your poster
Yeah, "Doi."
in your room. Yeah, Doy. Yeah,
Doi.
that's the guy on the poster.
That's-
It's Darth Doy.
That's "Doi" right there.
Doy. Yeah.
Oh, that's just "Doi." He built a giant fucking thing in space and blows shit up.
Oh, actually, this would be so I can make your editing life easier, Ethan. I'll pull it up on my phone. But so this guy,
Yeah, because I'm not gonna
he
remember. to
mentioned
bring it up.
that there were things in previous podcasts that were like, "Oh, we'll edit that in."
Yeah,
It was
and
never
I
edited
because
in.
you know
And-
by the
and
time
it's fine. It's fine.
by the time I get to the editing floor, I'm like, am I gonna scrub through this hour-and-a-half long video to find a 5-second visual aid? No, I'm not. I'm gonna go to bed because it's 4 a.m.
Yeah. Anyway, so here's the post. This guy mentioned he had photocopies of this because he didn't ever buy the book. But this is
Oh,
let me lower
look
the
at
brightness.
that.
Yeah, this is a book from the 1980s that is a ballad song manual that goes over different types of ballad songs and even has pictures
Oh my
of
god.
tutorials. Imagine a picture tutorial with arrows on how to do specific balisong tricks.
Oh my God.
And this guy didn't have the book, but he had photocopies of it that he had made, and he talked about it, and it was fascinating. He's like, in the 80s, you didn't have the internet. The only way you could learn a trick was making it up yourself, buying one of those books, or knowing somebody that had a balisong that also happened to know how to do different tricks.
Right.
So just a completely different thing. So I saw that he didn't actually have the book, and I go on to eBay. Long story short, I bought 3 separate books from the 1980s.
Damn.
That all go over different types of balisongs, different things that they're made out of, different companies to buy them from, even things like how to use a balisong in a self-defense situation.
Damn, Jigsaw,
it's crazy.
your ass tweaking. Sorry.
That was the most Gen Z thing you've said in a while.
My
you got that Riz.
You know what's going on outside of this. I'm deteriorating
I do.
very quickly.
I admire you for powering through.
I mean, like, it's not the end of the world. It's just my brain is in the process of
No, it
shutting
is.
down. So, no, you're right. Actually,
Well, if you don't,
it's over.
If you don't want your brain to shut down, just think of, I want you to really take a step back and think of Jeff Imada with all of his amazing shirtlessness, holding his weird, like, swirly blade balisong in there. Like, it's crazy.
That's a Talasong
But so the whole
right
point,
there. Not
it
the
is actually
Talasong
extremely
Zed.
similar. Zed Dead Redemption. But no, so
2.
anyway, I'm going to make a video about those books
That's sick.
and really dive in to what this hobby looked like 40 years ago today. Two of those books are from 1984.
I wonder if the hobby existed back. Like, we're talking pre.
I don't think it did. Or, like, it did. Obviously, they sold products, but, like, were people having meetups and stuff like that? I don't know. And I want to talk to that guy. Like, how did you get into this? Because he's 71.
Right.
That's the oldest person I've ever known. And he keeps up with the hobby. Like, he has Nautiluses, he has replicants, he has Fellowship Blade stuff, Zippy inserts for different balisongs, like, tons of things.
That was pre-internet. Was it?
Well pre-internet.
Gosh,
like, more than 10 years before the internet really proliferated.
I'm really showing how, like, my lack of history knowledge, but I always, like, the internet, I'm always like, was the internet around in the 70s? No, the fuck it wasn't.
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, so just think about being into that, like, this hobby, and there's no way to engage with it outside of
the
just
community
happening
just
to
didn't
find
exist.
somebody. Yeah, like, maybe there were people that got together and, taught each other how to flip, but those books are the only way that you would have, like, really had a resource to actually learn. And that's why the guy photocopied that stuff, because that was how you did it. You went to the library or went to a bookstore, found it, and you bought the book, and that's how you learned it.
Or you rented it from
Same
the
thing with
library
even
and
like what we're doing
photocopied it.
right now.
Piracy.
Yeah. Piracy.
Leprosy.
That's how we do it. Did you say leprosy?
Yes.
Piracy equals leprosy.
That's your
Summit Cola.
That's your bally tip of the day.
Bally tip. This is the bally tip of the iceberg. If this,
I'm gonna bally
if you're new
tip
to the
my
balisong
Kraken
hobby,
in
go
the
watch the
concrete.
community highlight video. This is a terrible representation.
Yeah,
But anyway,
so in the
my
balisong
whole-
community, we just kind of sit around in circles. We kind of act like we're high, tired, and drunk all at the same time, and we make jokes that aren't funny.
And we drink Summit Cola.
It's actually way more accurate than I think I really meant it to be.
I was gonna say, so that's another thing I wanted to touch on was we had a balisong meetup in Georgia,
Yeah.
and that's one of the ways that if you want to stimulate the local community, have meetups, even if it's just one person.
Keep going. Keep
I don't
going.
I
Just
don't
keep
know.
going.
I don't want to
Just
know
Keep
what
going.
your little
please.
Thomas the Tank Engine brain was on a railroad and you just hopped to a completely separate one. You didn't change tracks. You just went to it and you immediately know. You said to yourself, no.
I
I don't even want to. You're gonna have to tell me what the hell
I
you
derailed that train faster than that YouTuber who was trying to go viral.
Should I talk? Are you good?
Please talk. Please keep going.
Anyway, so my whole point in bringing all that up is that's one of the ways that I want to continue to change, like, how the kind of content we're doing. I don't want to just keep doing, like, I want to be able to shine a light on all these different companies and stuff. Like, that's one of the reasons I want to have a more efficient format to do reviews in that I've been developing, is so companies like BB Barfly can get a proper spotlight on them and have it not take months and months and months and months to produce all these different videos for all these different companies.
Right.
So there's utility in having a quicker format for us to put out. There's utility in it having a set kind of repeatable thing that maybe isn't the most artistic thing in the world, but it's still creative enough. It's still interesting enough. But I've been getting more and more interested in Balisong history and looking at stuff like the Benchmade 42 and the Benchmade 51. That was something the Necron video got me more interested in, was just looking at how much history there is. And then whenever I saw you could get those books on eBay, and I'm like, that is just a piece of history. And I'm a history nerd. I love all things history. And so that's one of the ways. Is that going to be the best performing content in the world? I don't think so.
But it'll be cool and it'll be different, and that's what we need.
Yeah, so that's one of the ways that I'm trying to more creatively even fulfill myself.
Right.
Is try to explore those different types of content that could be made in all those different avenues. And so if you're watching this and you've been in the hobby for a really long time, like, let me know when you started. Like, cause I love talking to Stitch Steel, because he has so many Balisongs that are just pieces of history. And even talking to him, like, he sent me clips the other day of the guy of a particular person who I won't name. This is like mid 2000s, like recorded on like a Sony Handycam that recorded on like mini DV tapes.
It was definitely pyro.
Clips of a guy flipping. Yeah, definitely pyro.
Definitely
he was
pyro.
What? I may have not existed.
What was the year?
When this guy? It may have been early 2000s.
Yeah, I didn't exist.
Yeah, maybe it was mid to late 2000s,
Okay,
but it
well,
looked
then I
like it
existed.
was early 2000s, like maybe even late 90s. But Stitch is just a fascinating treasure trove of Balisong history, and that's where you and I are in an interesting place, of being very new to things,
Right.
and even I guess in terms of people currently into the hobby today, even I am kind of going back to maybe being considered somewhat of not a full-blown like OG, but it's like, I was interested in Balisongs in 2018. That's 4 years before you got interested in them.
I can't exactly
I got
say
the
I'd call
Squiddy
that
when
an
it was
OG.
new. I have a Squiddy with a sticker on it. But as the hobby progresses, it's like when I hit my 10-year mark,
Right.
that's going to be crazy. Den has been in the hobby a lot longer than I
I
thought
love that guy.
he was. God, I'm still thinking about him on that street. I wonder if he's still there holding out that thumb. God, that's courage.
That's courage.
That's courage. Yeah. But yeah, so that's where I feel like I can keep doing that kind of stuff, but I would love to see somebody come onto the scene that can really start boosting things. Who's the it's Electroblade. Do you follow Electroblade on Instagram?
He is the guy that makes the cool graphics and shit. Question mark?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. He is now doing reviews. He
Interesting.
as at the time of recording 3 days ago, has a review of the Cygnus. And he has a particular flair to his B-roll.
I have bad news
And
about that.
What's up?
Just that the Cygnus doesn't exist anymore. But
Oh yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. So that's a weird complaint I have. I have an LDY Orion
Uh-huh.
now that I'm going to do for a durability video that I'm still workshopping, but it is coming. Which great ballad song, a lot more slippery than the dual tone one, which caught me by
I can
surprise.
imagine that.
But it just like shockingly more slippery than I thought it would be. But that's the thing I'm annoyed by. Just random tangent. LDY is kind of turning into Max Ace.
Yep.
Of just, hey, here's one batch. Bye.
Yep. I've been talking about this
Love
a lot
you.
on stream.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm gonna rant
Like,
about it on the
that's the weird
podcast
thing
for it
to
to
me.
be in a more permanent situation. That's the
You
problem.
know, yeah, rant, please.
That's the problem.
Get your energy
with
back.
being in a review-dominated hobby, because as soon as something
Yes.
goes out of production, there is no reason to talk about it anymore. When everything is a review, something can get obsolete as soon as it's done. As soon as they don't make it, because there's no point in reviewing something that they don't make, because the only reason to make a review is to inform people if they should buy something or not. But you can't inform people if they should buy something or not if you can't buy the thing. So if we moved to a content model that was a little more focused on things other than purchasing and reviews, then those ballad songs would stay relevant for much longer, because they would be collector's items and we could talk about them more, and people wouldn't forget about them instantly. You want me to prove that I'm right? Do you remember the Phantom? No, you don't. But I can tell you it was one of the first 70-75 aluminum ballad songs for under $100 from a name brand company that wasn't a clone. And no one remembers it. Do you know why? Because they made 19 of them and then they discontinued them forever. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
We're in agreement. Do you know how frustrating it is? Even when like LDY's even reached out to us like, hey, you want us to send you a Frank? I'm like, specifically for a review. I'm like, nobody's gonna be able to buy the thing.
I'm shocked.
Which I get it. Like LDY, if you're watching this, totally get it. You know, it's brand recognition. You know, just getting more stuff out about your products in general is great. And it's not like we don't want to review a product, but it's a lot harder to put so many hours into producing a high quality review for a product that nobody's going to be able to actually buy,
right,
unless you get it secondhand.
I'm shocked they were
so
still in
that's
stock
been
when
a thing
I got
I've been
mine.
annoyed by.
Because like again, no shade LDY, but like it took
the LDY's making
took like a
awesome
month and a half to ship. I was like, there was this point where I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be getting a Frank, but like at this point, it's probably going to be sold out by the time I get it. So like making a video isn't going to do anything because they're going to be gone. You can't buy them.
Yeah.
Which I think as of recording, there's still one color available in the Frank.
I'm looking at it right now.
Their site is
black.
Not loading for me. There we go.
Yeah, they have black available.
Okay. Cool. So you can still get it.
The Orion. Oh, no. Yeah, the Orion's. Oh. There's a silver Orion. They have no other colors.
They have. They're just. There's the black laser circuit. There's the purple laser circuit. There's the purple laser blossom.
Oh, those are not showing for me?
Yeah, they just don't have
icons. That is a weird thing. I ordered the one that's supposed to have the laser circuit. It doesn't.
Oh, so you paid $10 extra for nothing?
Yeah, I did not get what I paid for.
Oh, you should tell them about that.
So I mean, it's $10. I'm not too concerned about it. And
be.
Considering I'm going to be beating the living shit out of this, I'd rather it not be a pretty one that I'm going to feel bad about damaging.
All right.
But which is mostly because they've sent us a billion different products completely for free. So if I have to, suck up $10, like whatever.
Well, I mean, stuff like that. It's not even about you at that point. I'd be more concerned about like consumers getting that.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring
deal.
it up. Yeah. So it's not cool that it happened. I'm okay with it. It shouldn't happen to you. If it does happen to you, that's not cool.
Clear?
Anyway.
Comprende. Capiche?
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. And stuff.
But so anyway, LDY tangent out of the way. LDY, you're doing awesome
we do love
stuff.
you.
Yes. But moving toward a model of only making a couple hundred units and then never releasing any of them again, it makes it very difficult to recommend your stuff because people have to play the game of being hyper vigilant of everything that you're doing at all times and keeping up to date down to like the hour of when drops are going to happen. And that's not a fun environment to have to tell somebody when you're like, hey, what product do you recommend? Oh, I love this one, but you're never going to be able to buy it. And if you want to, stalk their Instagram for 2 months and hope you see the post on the specific day that they're going to drop. That's not a great business model in my opinion.
Please don't discontinue
What do
the
you-
Orion. Please don't do that.
Your day would be ruined. Anyway, back to this whole thing. Electroblade is now making reviews. And that I would recommend checking out his video.
You truly are the anchor
it's
that
like-
holds this podcast together right now. Holy shit, I forgot we were even talking about that.
I'm kind of that in a lot of areas of my life.
I just looked up
just-
Electro Boom.
People are gonna think like you had a stroke earlier today, and like you woke up from your stroke, or you had a seizure, and then
No.
you woke up and you're like, oh well, time to do the
No, because
podcast.
the funny thing was at the beginning of this call, I was like, yeah, let's get this thing rolling. Let's go.
I respect you for powering.
Okay,
through.
Electro
Anyway,
Blade.
to wrap that up, yeah, Electroblade. It's B-roll driven content where it's not head cam, it's just over like an overhead camera. Where he has some really slick looking B-roll, some nice motion graphics and stuff. And it's all just voiceover. I'll be honest, I haven't fully like watched the whole video. But just the vibe of it is pretty chill. There's even moments where he doesn't really like, he's not even saying much. He's just kind of showing off the knife kind of slowly. And and he has some good flipping B-roll in it too. It just looks nice and it's simple and it's effective. It's under 6 minutes, this particular review. So I'd love to see more of that kind of stuff. That's just more of that chill kind of style that finds that fine line of not necessarily scripted, but still has a direction to it, and it's not completely just unedited content. Still has good B-roll, still shows off different features. Like he has a whole graphic that pops up showing like all the different specifications and stuff, so it's still very informative. But it's just kind of chill. And so I'd love to see more stuff like that.
Dude, I'm going to have to watch this.
That kind of
later.
stuff is a lot more difficult to produce because it takes a lot of equipment and a lot more editing time than just slap a camera on your head and, move on.
Right.
But I'd love to see more of that. And I think maybe that's I don't think that fits the Addison True vibe of what you're looking for, but it's a different kind of, almost more like tech YouTuber kind of focused thing.
I'm going to have to watch this video later. I'm kind of I'm scrubbing through it with no sound. I like what I see.
Yeah.
I like what I see.
I want to connect with him. I'd love to collaborate with him creatively because he has a lot of really, really cool stuff that he puts together. And he's an awesome graphic designer, knows what he's doing when it comes to lighting and composition and all that. So I love to see that. I don't like operating in my own little bubble where I'm one of the few people doing like proper like ballad song B-roll with professional gear and stuff. Will's been getting into that, which has been cool to see with the new short format.
Yes, the
he's
new
been doing.
short format.
Yeah. Which I think fits a similar kind of chill vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I've been letting him take the shorts reign. I've done, except for those shorts that we've been doing on our channel, I've done every single YouTube short that has been released on the Will Hirsch channel. So that's where I'm like, I'm happy to let Will take the reins a little bit there. But those have been performing well, and people like the more chill vibe where it's not necessarily about, oh, here are the specs and here's my opinion. It's just, here's a cool thing, and here's the sound of it and how it flips.
Right.
Or just footage of it flipping. Bada bing, bada boom. Pretty low stakes content, but he's been doing a good job producing it. So I think there's more of that kind of stuff that I think could be done that would help the hobby reach new places too. It can just be more creatively invigorating.
Definitely.
Than just doing the same kind of stuff. Did I hit on most of the things that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. We talked about fellowship. We talked about the history.
Your Georgia
the
meetup.
shirtless
you
man.
didn't really.
Oh yeah. That's the thing I wanted to circle back to. In terms of promoting the hobby in general, this is kind of what Will's video was about in terms of his how to save the hobby. Was just do more meetups with people, which I know for a lot of people is like a dream to know one person within like a 5-hour drive.
That is kind of
actually
just
plays.
a hey, if you're sad, smile more kind of thing. Hey, just do
but-
meetups, man. Just like fucking
But
run it,
try.
bruv.
Even if you have to like put some effort into it,
Yeah.
and you have to go out of your way to do it, and even if it is just hey, going on to a public Discord or something like that, like a Battle Song focused thing, and just shooting a message, hey, is anybody near this particular place that I live? Let's get together. Just because that it's allowed me to try so many different things that I hadn't tried before. It's allowed me to get a ton of different perspectives on different things.
Right.
I got some great B-roll of different people's collections and stuff, and there's a reason Blade Show has left such a positive impact on us. It's because we're getting to connect with those people.
Absolutely.
That's one of the reasons. Like I know, like the scene in Utah is huge for Battle Songs, and those people hang out all the time. And so it's
And
like
now
if we could just
Georgia.
get people more connected and promote, and that's what I'm saying is like there haven't been regular Georgia meetups.
Right.
There have been ones in the past, but now they're doing every week or two.
That's
So
really cool.
is it possible for everybody to do that? No. But if you can, even if it's just with a couple of people, I think that could be at least a way to keep yourself engaged with it, get to try different things, and maybe even promote more people making content about it too. Because I completely understand being in an echo chamber of not actually being able to produce stuff on your to produce things to the quality that you would like to, which is the boat that you're currently in. Like you used to have Ty, and now you don't have Ty, and so that has kind of changed your ability to produce stuff on your own. I still think you could produce some really cool stuff.
We'll see.
On your own. I would be fascinated. And this is something, if we ever get to officially meet up in person, I would love to put a proper, actual camera into your hands. Not because like the DJI is great.
Oh yeah, it's not a B-roll machine by any means.
It looks like a good phone camera. It does not look like this.
Honestly, it looks like a below average phone camera. I'll be totally honest with you. The whole point of the pocket is you shove it in your pocket and you have a camera on you. So that's also just a phone.
But I can tell you that the reason I can relate to that specific thing, the thing that completely changed my desire to pursue photography and videography. This was long before I was doing anything professionally. And this is a fascinating discussion of like, because people within the videography world, there's arguments about if you need good gear or you don't need good gear. The thing that completely changed everything for me was I got a 50 millimeter lens. That specifically had a low aperture, which is what allows background blur to happen, as you currently see. That's what creates good background blur. Your DJI can barely generate a good amount of background blur, and it's a fixed, very wide angle.
Yes.
So you can't really do much with that. When I got that 50 millimeter lens and I took a picture at that low aperture and I finally saw, oh my God, that kind of looks like a movie. That's what I see in the movies. I haven't been able to do that because my lens didn't support that.
Yeah.
Completely changed everything that I thought I could do and wanted to do with photography. And it was just that one lens purchase. I was kind of on my way out of it, and I didn't think that I even enjoyed doing standard videography with an actual camera. That was when I was really focusing on drone stuff. I just were like, it's not for me. I don't like the look of it. It's not interesting to me.
Right.
I got that 50 millimeter lens. Everything changed. So that's where I'd be curious to put something like that into your hands. Because I know you enjoy taking photos from time to time and
Yeah.
getting creative with that kind of stuff. So that would be an interesting thing.
Definitely.
But anyway, I believe we hit on most of the topics that we aim to do. This is not going to be a 2.5 hour long podcast.
And Brandon,
we're actually going to try to end this one on time.
You know what I want to collaborate with?
What's that?
I'm going to collaborate with the stop recording button. Thank you
Yeah.
all so much for watching the Blade Bias podcast as usual. I'm going to go take care of a little visitor that has joined me on my wall down here that I keep looking up at.
Oh, is he there again?
Yes,
I
he
told
is.
the clones to stop climbing on your wall.
Yeah, I'm really just kind of getting sick of it at this point, and I think I'm going to have to escalate this to HR.
Yeah, hello, operator. Execute order 66. Okay, did he do it? He should have just spontaneously combusted and turned into like a bunch of butterflies, and they should have flown up the stairs into the main living room. Did that happen?
No, but I did see God for a few seconds, I think.
Oh, well, Brandon clones and God they're one the same.
Right.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Thanks for being in this awesome hobby. There's tons of incredible stuff to look forward to from me, from Ethan, from the whole hobby in general. Let us know what you think of the state of things. What's your experience been? Any cool products you're trying? Look forward to some cool reviews that we have coming up. And I look forward to Ethan going to bed.
I'm so tired.
You're allowed to be tired. Nobody's going to know why you're tired except a small group of people. But thank you so much, everybody. Being able to do this is one of my favorite things that I get to do in this community. And thank you to Ethan for being such a lovely co-host. That's
you
the
can't
ticket.
see me.
I'm like, please don't say anything. I just want you to. Can we just fade to black? Bye.